Hey Brett, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Ange?
Good. So last week we talked about saving money in your 401k, and this week I want to talk about how much you should target for at every age. So like when you're 30, how much should you have in your 401k? Because that's like the $1 million question, right? Is like, am I on track for retirement?
All right. So this is just planning for retirement to make sure that I have enough money by the time I retire to live off of until, for the rest of my life.
Yep.
So if I'm on track to get there, what do I need? All right.
Yeah.
This will be interesting.
So, but before we go any further, are you ready for the trivia question?
Yeah, sure. It'll be great.
How many people in America have 0% saved for retirement?
30%.
50.
I should have went with 40. That was my gut feel in the first place. Now I look like a
50% of
fool.
people have $0 saved for retirement. So, hope you're listening, because we're going to get ready to rock and tell you how much you should have. So, Brett, you had a very important birthday last year.
I did. I hit my 30 milestone.
Yeah. So, do you know how much you should have in your 401k?
I think you're going to tell me something like 4 times what I make or something like that.
1 times your salary.
Okay, so that's just the regular checkbox, basically starting the race there.
Starting the race. So, a lot of people, and if you go to med school, like, sorry guys, you're going to have to play catch up because you're not even done at the age of 30, right? Like, they're still going to school. But for most people who got a bachelor's, you're out of school when you're like 21, 22. So you've had like 8-ish years of full-time work to get that one-time salary saved. So, all right. So then you go to 40, right? So how much do you think you need at 40?
2 times my normal salary?
3 times.
Oh, okay. So we're adding and multiplying together.
Yeah.
All right.
So the benefit here is you already have like 1 time saved at 30, so that will essentially double in 10 years. That's the standard rule, right? If you earn around 7%, which is the historic average, your money doubles every 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you only have to come up with another 1 times in contributions, because compound interest does half the work for you.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And another thing to note here, though, is if you start making more money and you spend more money, that means you still have to save more money to hit these targets. So, that's other kind of bummer. If you got a lot of raises from 30 to 40 and you've inflated your lifestyle to retire the way that you currently live, you had to also really inflate your savings. And I think that's where a lot of people can start falling off the wagon.
So does this mean that I'm basically putting in the same amount in between those years? Like if my contributions remain consistent, or if my contributions remain a percentage of my salary, which will increase over time?
Yeah, so this is if your contributions remain a constant percentage.
Okay.
But these are also just targets. So, some people might be contributing more because the market's been in a down period, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like good times to do a little check-in and see where you're at and see if you should up your contributions.
So in order to stay on track with these numbers, though, and hit them, I want to make sure that I'm contributing a certain percentage every year.
Correct.
And if I do that, then I'm pretty much going to be in the ballpark. But if I'm only contributing $5,000 a year, I'm not going to hit it, right? I'm not even going to. Eventually, I'll be weaning myself off.
Yeah. So, a lot of times to hit these numbers, they recommend about 10% that you put 10% in. So that is quite a bit higher than most company matches.
Right. A lot of people that we talk to don't even match their company's contribution limit, which is like somewhere between 3 and like 6% sometimes. Sometimes it's a little higher than that. But so if they need to be at 10% just to be able to be there for retirement, they have some catching up to do.
Yeah. And, if you do 6% and your company does 6%, that's actually pretty good. And you're over 10%. I think usually the advice is like you do 10, the company does 3, so you're at 13. But if you do 6 and they do 6 and you're at 12, you're pretty close. Okay. So you might be okay with that. But it really kind of depends. All right. So fast forward to age 50. How much do you think you need at that age?
So I had 3 in the bank, and then I added another 1, right? And so maybe I'm close to 7 now.
5.
Only 5? What happened to my money compound interest over 10 years? It didn't double.
Well, it could. This is just the guidance of like, where should you be at? So the good news here is even if you miss your goal of 3 times at 40, there's time to make up the slack, right?
Okay.
So, this is just, these are just targets for people to hit. And it kind of goes to show that even if you're not on track when you're 40, you can catch up. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Good news. All right. What about 60?
All right. Since I've clearly proven that I don't know what I'm talking about, we'll just go with 10.
8.
Not even close. All
8
right,
times. So, yeah, this, you're going to just be wildly oversaved, which is great because you're going to have a good retirement.
That is my mantra. Yeah.
All right. So now 67, which is retirement age. Did you know that? They've updated the official age of retirement from like 65 to 67 is the average now.
67. All right. That's the average? I thought a lot of people were working...
a lot of people are working later, but 67 is like the new norm. It used to be 65.
Okay.
So, anyways, kind of fun.
Keep people working longer and paying taxes, even longer.
Yeah.
All right, so we needed 8, so let's keep it a round number of 10.
10!
Yeah, right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, one out of 10 or whatever.
So, yeah, by the time you get to retirement, they say that you should have 10 times your salary saved up to retire. So, there you go. But so then the other question that I get is, what if I want to retire before I'm 67? Which is my question, right? I don't know that I want to work until I'm 67.
Right. Everybody wants early retirement, right? That's the dream.
Yeah. So then instead of looking at your salary, you start focusing on your expenses. Now this is great for a couple of reasons, because we've started focusing on our expenses more over the past few years. And it's amazing how you can keep shrinking your annual expense number when that's what you're basing your retirement off of.
Strong motivation, right?
Yeah. So what they say here is if you have 25 times your annual expenses, you can retire at any age.
Okay.
So this moves more into a group that we call FIRE, which is Financially Independent Retire Early. And it's a little bit more extreme, but the numbers are actually still pretty conservative, because saying that you need 25 times your expenses is assuming a 4% safe withdrawal rate. And if you keep, your investments growing, the historic average, actually excluding inflation is 7%. So it's really closer to 10%. And so you're just taking 4% out every year, which means that it's still growing most years. And then when you have dips, you just kind of rein in a little bit. But anyways, 25 times your expenses.
So I have a big lump sum of money. I'm only going to take out 4% a year from that, and the rest of it is just going to be growing. So that gives me way more than those 25 years worth. Right?
Yep, cool. Exactly. And the idea is actually that it would last, I think they say 100 years or something, with a 75% probability. So without weird expenses popping up, and obviously as you get later in life, your expenses tend to increase. Right. But the beauty of that is if you are living on a lot less, then you do get things like Medicare in your older age, and things like that are covered for you. So it's working for a lot of people. I'm part of different communities online that talk about this ultra early retirement. And there's a lot of cool bloggers out there doing it. And, so far it seems to be working. And the other thing is when people are retiring in their, 30s, 40s, or 50s, before their 60s, it's not the traditional sort of retirement where they're like out golfing every day because, well, one, they can't afford that because that's expensive. And two, they are still looking for something to occupy their time, because anybody, I think, would go crazy just sitting there all week, every week. So a lot of people end up still producing some income, but it might be like part-time work, or it might be, building something that they enjoy doing. So it's kind of redefining retirement. It's a cool community to kind of explore and be a part of.
Right. It's unrealistic if you retire when you're 30 for the next 25 to 35 years, that you're not going to do anything of value to anybody else, right? That they would pay you for, or yeah, making things that are interesting, doing woodworking as a hobby, turning hobbies into businesses, helping out and volunteering at other places that just kind of turn into jobs, all kinds of fun stuff.
Or, like I even think about my first job working at Mancino's, and like you would love to work at a place like that and get some free food.
Oh my God, free food all the time, and somebody might pay me to work there also. That'd be great.
So I wanted to talk about one other set of numbers. So, a lot of people kind of get this idea of if I had $1 million, I could retire, right? That's like the lump sum that if I had $1 million going into retirement, like I'd be set, right? Mm-hmm. Which is
that's always been the goalpost for even my parents' generation, right? It was just like, okay, once I'm a millionaire, then, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore, I don't think, right?
Well, for a lot of people, it is still good. If we're going back to our original metrics here, at age 67, if you have 10 times your salary, you're good to retire. Well, that would be assuming, if you have $1 million, that would be assuming you had a $100,000 salary, mm-hmm. which is $1 million. So, and that's a pretty high salary. If you were making $50,000 a year, which is the median in this country, then you'd have $500,000 nest egg. So, I'm going to chat a little bit about getting to that $1 million by the time you're 63, because I think for most people that will provide a very good retirement. Now, if you have $1 million that you're retiring on, and you're trying to be part of this FIRE community, that could get a little harder if you're really truly never going to work again. Because if you had your appendix burst, for example, like there goes a good chunk of your nest egg, right?
Right.
But I think, if by the time you're 63, if you have $1 million, you're in really good shape. So we're just going to walk through the same, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60 ages, and I'm going to tell you how much you have to save each month to hit $1 million by the time you're 63.
Per month, okay.
All right, so we'll have you guess again, because that's fun. So when you're 20, how much do you think you have to contribute every month until you're 63, and you're investing in an interest-bearing account, like, your 401k?
Yep. So 10%. Let's start with what we were at.
This is a dollar amount.
Oh, dollar amount. Oh, yeah, per month. Right, that's right. Per month, like $500.
$305.
$305.
$305.
Very specific. How many pennies in there?
And 17 cents. But I actually think this is like really cool because even when I was like just out of college, I was trying to pay off debt and all of this, I think with my 401k match was able to get there with my company match. So that's pretty cool. And pretty like nice to know, like I'm on track, right? It's kind of fun. All right, well, you're 30. So what if you start now? How much do you think you need to do now?
Let's say twice that? No, can't be that much. So 600.
647.
Ah, close. All right.
Yeah, pretty close. So what about age 40?
1,000.
$1,465.
Whoa.
So now we're getting into like, territory, right? Like if you start in your 20s or 30s, it's like, okay, like that's a lot of money, but I could probably figure out how to make this work with my company match and all of that jazz. But like $1,465, like that's more than a mortgage payment in certain parts of the country.
Oh yeah.
A lot of parts of the country. All right, so what about age 50?
I mean,
so you have 13 years.
Yeah, basically, like 10,000 or 20,000, 25,000.
Nope. So 3,947.
3,009. What did I say? 20. I meant 2,500.
Oh, okay. It's like, whoa. But yeah, so almost $4,000, which like that's a mortgage in even nice parts of the country.
Yeah, right.
So that's like it gets really hard, right? The longer you wait, the harder this is. So what if you decide you're going to start saving when you're age 60 and you have 3 years to do this?
You're out of luck.
Well, I mean, do you have a guess?
60,000?
25,000.
Okay.
So
because that's 36 months, or what? 5 years remaining before you retire, basically at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this kind of just is a really good lesson in compound interest, right? Start early. And if you're listening and you're 50, it's okay. Just start right now. Like, literally go right now and up your contribution to your 401k, because every penny counts. So, all right. So I just wanted to close this episode with talking about how much people should be saving in their retirement. So as somebody who just kind of saved a lot, like what percentage of income did you feel like you should save when you got your first job?
12%.
12% with the company match, or?
That was just that's what I put in.
That's what you put
Plus
in.
I got a company match on top of that.
Awesome. That's really good, because that's right where you should be. So I recommend that in total, people do 13 to 20% of their income, but that includes the match. So, that 13% is the number I quoted earlier of if you put in 13%, you'll hit, you have a very good chance of hitting all of these targets that we've laid out in this episode. So, I that's like the sweet spot. So it's great because if your company offers a 6% match, you can start, go ahead and start with where you feel comfortable, start with the 6%, but then, kind of like cut some expenses and ratchet up at 1%. It's kind of like getting your braces tightened, like you do it one step at a time, and before you know it, you can be at 12.
So that's one school of thought, though. The other one is when you're just starting out and you're suddenly getting all this money from this company that's paying you like real money for the first time. Paying more into your 401k right off the bat so you don't have that money ever hit your checking account is really powerful.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a great point. So that's actually what I did when I started working. I just started with 10% of my income before I even got my first paycheck, which was actually, it's funny, I grew up with a dad as a financial advisor, and I'm sure he totally approved of that advice, but it was actually advice I got from my high school math teacher. So thanks, Mr. A. But yeah, so I just did 10% of my income, and then I got a 6% match. So the range that I say to be in is 13 to 20% total of your income should be going into a 401k. And obviously, if you want to do more than that, great. Go crazy, up to $18,500 a year. I think if you can max it out, that's like a wonderful thing to do. But it is also not realistic for the average Joe.
Right. Well, if you're 60, then you're totally out of luck because you can't even contribute that $25,000 a year into your 401k.
That was a month, too.
Or a month. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Right. That'll do it.
You're totally out of luck. They do have catch-up amounts. I think starting at age 55, you can do an extra $5,000 a year, I believe.
Oh yeah, once you're in, yeah.
Which is nice, but yeah, you still won't get there. So, sorry about your luck. But yeah, no, I totally agree with the advice you gave too. But I think most of our target listeners are a little bit older and probably already established. Mm-hmm. So if you are already established, and it's kind of scary to think about going from 0 to 10, because that's kind of a big chunk. Just start 1% at a time. And the really nice thing is if you do a traditional 401k, it's not like your paycheck will be 10% less, because it's taken out pre-tax.
Right.
So then your taxes drop too. And really, if you do a 10%, you might only see a 7% change in your take-home pay. Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. And I really do recommend getting as much in there as you can. It's my final advice on the matter.
Yep. And that's your long-term money. You're planning for long-term savings and investment and retirement. And, that's important money later on.
And leave it.
Oh, yeah.
Can
don't take it
that?
out. Oh, yeah. I guess, the unwritten rule of don't take money out of your 401k, right?
Well, really, like any investment you have, have a plan of when you're going to take it out, but don't take it out before that, unless you really need it. But when I say need, I mean not want. But I need this lake house, right? I've actually heard of people recently taking out money from their 401k to remodel their home, and they were actually in their 50s. Some of my friends' parents. And I'm like, what? No. Why are you doing that? So leave it at any age. don't take it out. Even if you have, a mutual fund that your plan is to retire when you're 50 and start drawing out of your mutual fund, like out of sight, out of mind, And that's another big thing, I think, to remind people really quick. The market's been kind of crashing and burning a little bit lately, which is great for all of us that are still buying, because basically we're getting sales. But it can be hard to like check your 401k balance and be like, well, it's down 10%, right? Then don't look at it. Like if you're going to do something impulsive, like try to pull it out or move it all to, a safety net within your 401k vehicle, don't look at it, because if you're young and you have time to recover, if you have 3 to 5 years before you need that money, then one of the best things you can do is let it ride. You already missed your chance to take it out when the market was up. So now just let it ride.
That's right. And, a lot of people didn't do that before. They waited till the market crashed. They pulled all their money out and took huge losses. And what did they get for that? Nothing. Because they were still working for years after that. So all they did was take a loss, and then they probably waited till the money market was going back up again to put it back in. And, right, maybe they waited till it was up again to put it back in. So they bought high. Mm-hmm. So they just lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? And all the interest while the money wasn't in the market.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna bridge that gap anyway, and you have no plans to take out that money in the next several years, it does not matter what happens to the market tomorrow.
Nope.
So don't even look at it.
It's gonna ebb and flow, but at the end of the day, like, it's gone up historically, and unless, I always say, like, sure, it could drop to zero, but like, then we're all kind of in a doomsday scenario anyways. So who cares?
Right. It's not going to matter that you have money in that scenario still, because everybody's going to be pillaging your house because nobody else has any money. Nobody's
going to even care. Like, it's not even going to be like cash is king. It's going to be like robbing people is king. Like, bartering is king. Like, I have sticks.
Whoever has water.
Fire. Right? Mm-hmm. So
all those prepper guys, the ones that are burying houses out in the hills somewhere, those are guys.
That's true.
They're going to be on top.
Well, on that lovely note, that concludes our episode. So, if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me via email or leave a comment on our website, and I will drop all of that information in. And thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Money in the Bank. Make sure to subscribe to us on the iTunes or Stitcher app so that you get weekly alerts every time we post a podcast. Or if you want, you can visit my website, moneyinthebankpodcast.com. And if you want to reach out with any questions or further comments, please email me at Angie@moneyinthebankpodcast.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Money in the bank.